One day in mid-May 2010, the early summer sun was scorching, making the air stifling. Residents of an apartment building in Yen Oa ward called GA, Hanoi, Vietnam involuntarily sensed a strong smell in the air. The strange smell became increasingly pungent as some people had to disperse throughout the floors of the building to search. As they went higher, the smell became clearer. When they reached the top floor, the security guard of the building froze, facing a headless body decomposing rapidly in front of him. The information was reported to the Khao Yai District Police and Hanoi City Police. At the scene, the forensic team determined that the body belonged to a woman, no longer intact. The head and fingers had been severed. The corpse had many wounds caused by sharp objects. According to estimates, this young woman was between 20 and 30 years old and had been dead for about 15 days. The incident immediately shocked public opinion because for a long time, such horrific murders had not occurred in Hanoi. The place where the body was found was the top floor, uninhabited and rarely visited. None of the residents of the building knew anything about the incident when it happened. No one knew who had brought the unfortunate body up here for disposal. The investigators of the Hanoi Police Criminal Division, based on the results of the scene investigation, concluded that this was definitely a homicide case.
Identifying the victim's identity was a particularly difficult task. It seems that after committing the murder, the culprit meticulously planned to erase traces. Authorities couldn't identify visually, and the victim no longer had fingers to provide identification. One question arose: where was the victim? Was she a resident of the building or just came here and then was murdered? Was the victim's death related to robbery or other social conflicts? The only thing the Hanoi police could be certain of was that the case had occurred in one of the apartments in this apartment building. According to the examination results, the victim died about 15 days before being discovered, meaning after the long holiday. Therefore, many families had gone to their hometowns on vacations, which could have provided favorable conditions for the perpetrator to act without being noticed. Investigators proceeded to verify information from all residents of the building. However, the results were meager. No one saw or noticed anything unusual during that time. The vagueness about the victim's whereabouts and the location of the crime made the process of narrowing down the suspects almost stagnant.
Just a few hours after the victim's body was found, the detectives conducted a thorough search of all corridors and staircases of the building. In some areas on the walls under the floor tiles, there were faint brown stains, suspected of being blood. Following these traces, the detectives finally determined that there was likely a crime scene on the 11th floor of the building. Of course, that was just the initial conclusion. At this point, a man came to the police station to report that his daughter had been missing for several days. According to him, his daughter's name was Nguyen Phuong Lin, and she hadn't returned home after leaving. The family tried to contact her, but Lin remained missing according to the family's account. When she left, Lin used a Honda SCR motorcycle, carrying a laptop and a phone. At this time, comprehensive investigation work was still being carried out quickly by the Hanoi police detectives. Through checking the parking ticket records at the building, the officers found evidence of Lin's presence here on May 4th. The investigators concluded that this detail indicated that Lin could very well be the victim of the crime.
Subsequent forensic analysis confirmed that the female body found on the rooftop of the building matched Lin's mother's DNA. The victim's identity was established. Lin did not live in this building, so who brought the victim here? For what purpose? These were questions that the Hanoi police had to answer as soon as possible. Clearly, the crime had occurred many days ago, giving the perpetrator enough time to plan to conceal the crime. If not apprehended quickly, the suspect might disappear without a trace, making the investigation difficult. Verifying Lin's relationships became a top priority at this point. From there, just a few hours later, the Hanoi police created a profile of the suspect, who later, upon capture, confessed to his heinous crime very clearly. Returning to the investigation scene on May 17, 2010, when the headless female body was discovered on the rooftop of an apartment building in Kao district, investigators confirmed that the victim was murdered within this building. After committing the crime, the perpetrator meticulously brought the unfortunate victim's body up here for disposal.
With numerous households residing on various floors of the apartment building, determining the exact floor and apartment where the crime occurred was not a simple task. Observing from the top floor down, there were brown stains suspected to be blood on the 12th floor resting mat. Similar faint brown marks were also noticed on the 11th floor. However, there were no suspicious signs below the 11th floor. At this point, the 11th floor became the most notable area of interest. Continuing their meticulous search for the smallest clues, the investigators and forensic team finally identified a specific apartment. This apartment belonged to another girl from Quang Minh province who had returned from her hometown after the April 30th holiday. Around the same time, while investigating the relationship of the victim, Nguyen Phuong Linh, it was discovered that she had an ex-boyfriend named Nguyen Nguyen Duc Nia, originally from Hai Phong. Delving deeper into Nguyen's background, investigators found that he was currently in a relationship with a girl residing in the same apartment building where Lin's body was found. These pieces of information arrived at a crucial moment when the investigative team had already narrowed down the suspicious apartment. An immediate inspection was conducted. Upon entering this apartment, the female homeowner appeared very surprised. Through observation, the investigative team noticed several fresh paint patches on the walls, covering the old paint layer. When questioned, the homeowner explained that her boyfriend, Nguyen Duc Nia, had painted over these areas while she was away on holiday. In the area of suspicion, the investigators scraped off the fresh paint layer, revealing numerous brown stains suspected to be blood on the original wall. Further examination of the bathroom revealed several unusual traces. In the kitchen, when asked if any knives had gone missing recently, the homeowner confirmed that some knives had been discarded by her boyfriend while she was away. According to her, on April 30th, she returned to her hometown in Quang Ninh for a vacation. During this time, her boyfriend, Anya, stayed in the apartment. Upon her return, she noticed the fresh paint patches and questioned Anya, who claimed it was due to a minor accident that caused bleeding and dirtied the wall, prompting him to repaint it.
Moreover, when she questioned him about the missing knives in the kitchen, Nia said they were blunt and he threw them away. Seeing her boyfriend's concise explanations, the girl didn't think much of it. A few days later, Nia returned to collect his belongings and left in a hurry. However, on May 17th, when the homeowner learned that the police had found a female body on the rooftop, she was startled and began to recall Nia's strange behaviors. Immediately after, the police conducted a search of the apartment. She tried calling Nia but couldn't reach him. By the evening of the same day, they exchanged text messages and Nia confessed to committing the murder. Based on the gathered information, the Hanoi police had grounds to believe that Nguyen Duc Nia was the perpetrator of Lin's murder. Using investigative measures, the Hanoi police swiftly determined that Nia was hiding in Tay Nguyen. That very night, a team of investigators set off. With the cooperation of local police, shortly thereafter, the Hanoi police apprehended the suspect. On the journey back to Hanoi, Nia made initial confessions, admitting to the murder of Lin,